Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm going to be setting up my May pages in my notebook using these Star Wars stickers from Hubman and Chubgirl. Unfortunately, these stickers are no longer available. They were part of their Vault series, which are now discontinued. When I originally purchased these stickers, the plan was to just use them to commemorate May the 4th every year. But this year, I changed my mind and decided to do the whole month of May using this theme. I don't have a lot of these stickers, so I decided to make a Dutch door, especially since I have already used some of these. I'm also going to be using a little bit of scrapbooking paper from this pad that I got from Joanne. It has a lot of celestial themed papers, and I will use one as the background for my headers. I like each weekly spread to contain all 7 days of the week, even if the week is split into 2 separate months. So this page on the right will get its own May header. It can't be included in the Dutch store because otherwise the top of the April spread will show. Only the 4 full weeks of May will be included in the Dutch door spread. And this year, May ends on a Saturday, which is perfect for me because I'm a Sunday start girly. I'm starting with picking out my background paper. I chose this one because it looks the most Star Wars-ish to me. I need to cut my paper to size, so I'm placing it where I want it to be and holding it in place temporarily with some washi tape so I can mark where to cut. And I'm just cutting with an X-Acto knife and metal ruler on a cutting mat. Once I have my paper cut to size, I can use my corner rounder to round the one corner to match the paper in the notebook. So this first piece is going to be for my first 3 days of May, and I need to make 2 more header background pieces for the Dutch door spreads. As far as measurements go, the height of my header is the top margin space plus 6 dot grid spaces. When I'm adding decorative paper to my journals like this, I like to use this method of taping it in with washi tape first so that I can get an accurate measurement of exactly how this paper is going to fit that page, because sometimes there is a little bit of variation as far as the binding and the margins. So I feel like this is the most accurate way to get a good fit. And I did actually number each piece, so I made sure that I put them back in the right spot when I'm ready to glue them in. This scrapbooking paper is fairly thick, so I think it worked out well that this is going to go into a Dutch door spread. With my background pieces cut out, now I can cut out the top of the 3 middle pages of the full weeks of May. I slid my cutting mat underneath each page that I was cutting just to protect the pages underneath. I think that one of the biggest anxieties of making a Dutch door spread is making sure you're cutting out the right pages. Now I'm using my little scissors to cut out the top of each page close to the margin, but not in the margin. I don't want to cut too close to the threads because I don't want these pages to start to fall out of the notebook. And I'm using my X-Acto knife to finish the cut so that these little tiny flaps can lay flat, and I will glue them down using my Zig glue pen. This glue pen makes it very easy to glue into tiny spaces like this without making a giant mess. Before I glue my paper in, I'm going to take my Tombow dual brush pen in black and color in right in the middle of the binding so there isn't a visible white gap between the two separate pieces. I'm going to glue my pieces in using the same glue marker. I'm starting with the outer corner so I can make sure that the piece is lined up perfectly with both edges of the page. Then once the outer corner is aligned properly, I can start gluing, working my way in towards the binding. I want to be extra sure that the middle edge of this paper is glued down well, because that's the most likely area that will bend and lift. I will do the same process with the other side. Then I will flip forward one page and glue the first piece of decorative paper in. I also like to use my corner rounder to round off the sharp corners that I made when I cut out my Dutch doors. That's my cat Fig in the corner. But since I'm doing a Star Wars theme this month, I wanted to use the Star Wars font. But I didn't really want to hand draw the Star Wars font. So what I decided to do was I looked up the Star Wars fonts online. I found a few different websites that offer the font for free. So I printed it out on sticker paper, and I chose to do a black background and a yellow outline. And I fussy cutting around the two monthly headers, so when I stick them on the decorative paper, it will look like they're floating in space. I also used the same font to print out headers for each of my weekly boxes. I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut each header into its individual strip. These headers are definitely harder to read on camera. It is a little bit easier to see in real life, but if I were to do this again, I think I would do the smaller daily box headers in a solid yellow and not the outline yellow. Once I have everything cut out, comes the fun part of actually getting to decorate the spread. I don't like putting stickers right on the crease of the binding. I feel like stickers don't stay very well when you do that. So my preference is just to put it a little bit off center. Now I'm going to place my smaller headers for each daily box. Each weekly spread will have 8 boxes, one for each day of the week and one for notes. And I did make a special header for May the 4th. For the month of May, I decided my daily boxes are going to be in 2 columns down the center of the spread. And I do make all of my May weekly pages the same. It just is easier for my brain that way. And I decided to go super minimal, and I didn't draw any frames around my boxes. Because of the Dutch door spread, I only really have 1.5 headers to decorate, and I didn't really need that many stickers. If you're wondering why I have left so much space on the 2 margins of each spread, that's what I call my flex space. which I generally use for journaling and memory keeping. I used a couple of lightsabers to frame May the 4th, which was the inspiration for this whole month's theme. Now I'm going to flip to the front of my notebook where I have set aside 2 spreads for each month of the year as my health tracker space. The layouts for my health trackers every month are generally the same, and this is going to be a Dutch door spread as well. So I will be cutting the side margin off of the middle page. The header for this spread will actually run vertically along the right-hand margin, and the left-hand side is going to be used for the dates. I used the same font and printed all the headers for this spread on sticker paper as well. Here you can see all of the tabs for the pages I set aside for my health tracker spreads, so all of my health data for the year is together and easy to reference. I printed the dates on sticker paper as well, but my spacing was a bit off. I made it a little too long. My solution was to chop the sticker between every other line and overlap them slightly so they line up with the dot grid. I had stopped recording while I was figuring out what to do and then forgot to hit record again, so I don't have any footage of that. Moving on, I am using a yellow Papermate flare to create brackets along the top. This is where I will write the things I want to track, like my sleep quality and pain level, and when I take my medications, that kind of thing. Each column is 2 dot grid spaces wide, except for the last one, which is 3 dot grid spaces wide, because that's where I record the temperature range for the day. I draw my brackets at an angle just to give me a little bit more space to write. Sometimes I can be a little overconfident about drawing the angled lines over the crease in the middle of the spread. It was a little subtle at first, but this one is clearly not right. I had lots of offcuts of white sticker paper from the headers I had printed out, so I just cut some small strips of white sticker paper and covered the lines that were not drawn correctly. White sticker paper is a quick and easy way to cover some small mistakes. I feel like correction tape tends to get a little flaky and has a weird texture, and you don't have to wait for sticker paper to dry like you would with liquid whiteout. So now I can go ahead and redraw my lines. And I don't think the mistake is too noticeable. If you're interested in knowing more about how I use my health tracker, I do have a video on that as well. Now I'm going to draw lines between Saturday and Sunday. I like to have a visible separation between each week. Now I can flip over to the second page of this spread and put in some small headers. This section will be for exercise and activity. This is where I list my morning medications, my evening medications, and my before bedtime medications. And then this whole page on the right is for extra notes. And I will draw lines separating each week in my exercise and activity section as well. And that is it. So now we can do the final flip through. Starting with my May health tracker, all set up and ready to get filled out. The first 3 days of May, sharing a spread with the last few days of April. Then a Dutch door spread with the 4 full weeks of May. And that is all I have for you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.